Hello everyone, my name is Zach and you're watching another bite-sized build. In this video, I'm going to show you how I added this 3D printed phone mount and digital temperature gauge to my truck. It's never a good idea to drive while using an electronic device, but it's also illegal in my state, so I figured it'd be a really good idea to make a phone mount for my car. I used one of these pop socket devices on the back of my phone to hold it with my fingers, so I figured that would be a really good mechanism to use. I might 3D print like a little mount that goes here, and it would slide into that pop socket device, and it would allow the phone to rotate 90 degrees so I could use it in either portrait or landscape mode. While I'm at it, I'm also going to add a temperature display for my truck. My truck doesn't have a built-in temperature gauge for the outside temperature, and it's always nice to know what the temperature is outside. So I picked up a little cheap temperature display, and I'm going to mount that in here as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean all the junk out of here and get it out of the way. I forgot I had this in here. It's my 3D printed Yoda head. I might put that on the hood like as a hood ornament. That would be kind of cool. So I've got a couple of measurements here, and I'm going to head inside and start working on the design for this 3D printed mount. I took some dimensions of the pop socket on my phone and I quickly modeled something up in Fusion 360. Next I'm going to 3D print that out and I'll go see if it fits on the truck. While this part is 3D printing, I'm going to head back out to the truck and start taking apart the dashboard because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get that temperature display to mount inside there. So I think taking apart is going to help give me some insight. I finished 3D printing the phone mount that fits the pop socket on my phone. The next step is to attach this to that center radio piece using some mounting screws. So I brought that here into the lab and that's what I'll do next. This phone mount is going to go right here on the underside of this. Of course I've got this flipped upside down right now to make it easier to work with, but I need to measure out and make sure that I get this right in the center and then mark out the mounting holes and drill those holes. Okay, so the truck looks like a complete mess. I've got it all torn apart. Hopefully I can get it back together. So I think I've got a plan here for this temperature display. There's a couple of these extra plastic knockout pieces next to the USB and auxiliary port. So I think I'm going to use that, and I'm going to feed the wires through here and probably design some sort of 3D printed plastic enclosure that I can connect to this plastic knockout, and I'll go ahead and slide and snap that back into place, and hopefully it'll look pretty nice. So that's the plan for now. And then to power the display, I'm actually just going to steal 5 volts right next door from that USB port. The cable on the temperature sensor is actually not long enough, so I'm going to first have to extend that and then feed it through the chassis and into the engine compartment so that I can get a good reading for the temperature outside. So I think that's going to be the plan. So I unplugged the wiring harness. This is the USB port, and then these are the 2 cigarette lighters. I looked at the data sheet for my temperature display, and it actually will accept voltages up to 24 volts. So rather than trying to tap into the 5 volts of this USB connector, which is going to be kind of difficult, I think it's going to be much easier to tap into the 12 volts of the cigarette lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and create a little splice here so that I can tap into that 12 volts. I've got that tapped into the 12 volts, and now I have it available to feed to my temperature sensor. The next step is going to be to feed this long temperature sensor wire through the chassis and into the engine compartment so I can mount it in there. It's going to be really difficult to film this, so you might just have to take my word for it. There's a pass-through bulkhead that goes right through here. You can't quite see it on camera because it's pretty far up in there. But there are a whole bunch of wiring harnesses that are being passed through that bulkhead. Sweet. Got it. Okay, now that I've got it through, all I have to do is just kind of route it through here. This is probably where the sensor's going to live, right in here. I think I'm going to pull quite a bit extra through and coil it up just to give me a little bit of extra flexibility in case I do want to move it in the future. Before I put everything back together, I want to make sure that this thing works. So I put connectors both on the wiring harness and the temperature sensor. All I have to do is plug this thing in and turn the car on to see if it works. "58.4 degrees, which is probably the temperature out here, maybe a little bit cooler than that. But it's working, I'm happy with that, so I think with this point I can button everything up. If you're new here to Bite Size, you may not know that I make a lot of other cool project videos like this. I'll go ahead and put a couple of those here for you to click on. If you enjoy project videos like this, please consider subscribing to Bite Size or even becoming a supporting member through patreon.com/bitesize, or you can support right here on YouTube by clicking the join button below. That pretty much wraps up this video. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Well, hello there. Oh my gosh, what are you doing back there?